everybody. Welcome to the Crit House. I am Jeff Larson, and our MyFIVE series continues with David Carroll. David, hello. How are you, sir?
I say howdy. I never say.
Well, it is America. So if you don't know, David is a photographer and a writer, curator, editor, educator, and currently a publisher. He studied under Lisette Model. He was a photographer for the Image Bank Photo Agency, which is now part of Getty Images. He was the director of photography at Outfront Media, and he is now the editor-in-chief for Peanut Press Books. Mr. Carroll, it is a pleasure to have you on the Crit House. Thanks for joining us.
Mr. Carroll isn't here. He's in, that'd be my dad. And by the way, I was director of photography at CBS, which sounds cool. When we became Outfront Media, I retired. I mean, not immediately. I had to drag it out to figure out how to survive, but yes. But yeah, almost everything you said is true.
Well, is it hard to get it to a certain point in your life and have somebody say in 15 seconds the entirety of your career and like leave
it
things
means
out?
Nothing. You know what? And not obviously I wrote that shit originally, right, for the website. I guess that's where you got it.
Yeah.
But the commercial stuff means virtually nothing to me. I hear it and I go, oh yeah. I mean, like the thing maybe I'm proud of, I think I'm proud of it, is I was the first assignment photographer for the Image Bank in the 80s, and I was young. I was in my 20s, and they trusted me with assignments. That was a big deal for me, because I literally went from living in a shitty basement with no windows in Hoboken, New Jersey, to getting a real job and flying around and staying in, fancy hotels and stuff, and going, wow, even business class when I go to Europe or like.
Lovely.
So it was like a big lifestyle change. So that was the only part of my commercial life that really matters. And I guess the other part was at CBS, because I was the director of photography in the ad in that division. I get to hire my friends all over the country, which was a big deal for me. And that was probably the worst part about leaving. No, it didn't really matter. Leaving was fucking great.
So I was trying to think of like how I initially came across you. And I'm pretty sure it was on Instagram, because that's how I learn about a lot of photographers these days anyway. And it may well have been not because of your photography, but because of your opinions, because
I get a lot of
opinions.
It's weird. I've made too many books already, and I have too many pictures out there, but there's going to be a book come out that'll come out based on me lying about stuff, my bullshit opinions with a photograph, and that's going to come out, and that's just a thing. So that's going to be around at one point soon.
I will look forward to that. All right, so you have joined us for MyFIVE. You've picked 5 images. What did you? Some people have difficulty with this. For some reason, I have a feeling that wasn't that hard for you, but maybe I'm wrong.
It was hard narrowing it down, to be honest, but there was 3 or 4 images that were key that came to me instantly, because in my day, you whippersnappers, when I was a kid, it was really books, right? I mean, obviously there's no social media, internet, and you went to shows. Like I got to see some pretty cool shows, but it was just photo books. And there used to be a store called The Photographer's Place in Soho, and I'd go in there and I just study the books. And in fact, quick anecdote, I was looking at books and this guy said from my side, hey, he's pretty good, isn't he? And I looked over and it was Dwayne Michaels, and I was looking at Dwayne Michaels' book. And it was funny. I mean, this is a long time ago. Anyway, so I used to buy books, and I'd always buy remainders and the fucked up ones that would, because I didn't have any money. So it was fun, and that was how I learned about photography.
So your first photo from Elliot Erwitt, and I have to say, so in the time we've been doing the MyFIVE series, more professional photographers have chosen Elliot Erwitt as one of their 5.
That's great.
It is. I love it.
Oh, I can tell you why this picture matters to me.
Okay.
I don't remember when I saw it. So I think most likely it was the late 70s. It was a photo show, and it was like a card, that they would make, but I don't remember. I'm making that up. But that's what I think. And I saw this picture, and I remember thinking, I literally remember 2 photographers gave me this epiphany. So I had 2 epiphanies on the same subject. I was like, Elliot Erwitt, he's like this journalist. He's in Magnum. He's kind of a big deal. And he took a picture of a dog, and that's just as sort of significant and appropriate to photography as a picture of like a war scene or whatever it is. And I thought, so you can do this and it can be just as valid. And besides the fact it's a great picture, right? It's fun. The dog has a great face. It has a look to it. But I remember that moment of going, wow, so all right, I really can take whatever I want. It doesn't matter. And to be honest, at like 18 or whatever I was, I didn't think I'd make a living as a photographer. So it was irrelevant doing it for a living. But I saw, you know, a vetted professional photographer taking funny pictures. And that was a big deal. And through years, I've met him a few times. I mean, I don't know him.
Number two, my favorite image, one of my favorite images from Joseph Koudelka.
Yeah, so here's the story on that. Can you see it over my shoulder?
I can, I know.
All right, so there's a little history of this. I just remember seeing this picture and going, hey, I have animals in two of my pictures. I just realized. I remember thinking the texture, I mean, the immediate thing is it's a man talking to a horse, which is just great, right? But the texture and the tones and everything, I remember thinking, I want to be able to take a good picture of a horse. That's simple. And I probably spent a good 40 years. I have one or two good horse pictures. Actually, I have one that's good, but everybody thinks it's a skull hanging on the fence. But whatever. Actually, maybe we'll put that in some of the pictures where you show pictures.
Send it to me. We'll put it up. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a horse picture to me because I just want to get a horse picture. I'm not complicated. You know, if I'm teaching or doing something, I can get into the details of composition and, you know, motivation and what the person's really trying to do and what makes them happy in their picture more than anything else. But at the end of the day, I like a good horse picture. And this is maybe my favorite horse picture. And I spent good 20 years finding a great print of it to buy. And I did finally buy it. And for anybody who's looking at this, just know that the print cost me about $2,000. Go see what they cost now. So,
you made a good investment, I take it?
Unintentional, but it worked out. And it's never going to be sold unless, you know, if I'm down to where I have to sell that, there's a lot of other things going on. But yeah. Anyway, so I finally found a nice print of it.
Lee Friedlander, this phenomenal image. Tell us about it, sir.
Okay, so there's a book from a paper company, Gilman, I don't remember the name of the company, and it was like a show that they had, or their collection. And obviously I knew about Friedlander, loved Friedlander. He's probably one of my biggest influences. And he's also in the same category as Erwitt, where, wow, I can walk around and take a picture of anything interesting. I mean, the key to all good photography to me is your picture has to be interesting.
Yeah.
And there's two kinds of photographers. David Bay once said, we were bullshitting about something, and he said, there's two kinds of photographers, interesting and uninteresting. And I think he's 100% right. And Friedlander is so fucking interesting. Anyway, here's the story. So I saw this picture in in this book. It was maybe 4 inches by 6 inches. And I wanted it printed exactly the same as the book. So I went to the gallery, which I don't remember who it was at the time, in New York. So I'm not going to say what it was, and ordered this picture. I get it. Maybe 3, 4, 6 months go by, and I meet Lee, maybe for the first time, and said to him, "Oh, I ordered a picture of your baby on a TV," and he goes, "Yeah," because he made the prints, or he certainly was in charge of making the prints. He goes, "I saw that." He goes, "You know, I can afford paper now. You don't have to buy them small," which I thought was true. A lot of his old prints are small. Anyway, I got this, I think for my 30th birthday, I got it. So, and so the reason it's one of my most important pictures is, again, here you are, it's a baby on a TV. Never occurred to me at 20 that that's an interesting photograph. And I was like, holy shit, this is absolutely amazing. Forget about the composition and the weirdness. It's just like, so you can take a picture of a baby on a TV, print it correctly, and have it be so compelling. Again, it's like, you know, we're talking about our first 5 that influenced us. The influence was as simple as like, so I'm in a motel room traveling or on assignment, and I can just take a picture of anything. And ultimately, if I did it right, it could be an interesting picture.
Yeah.
Is profound to me. A lot of people never think in those terms, and that's fine. But that's how I think. And I give Friedlander and Erwitt credit.
August Sander, number 4.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously, or in my opinion, the greatest portrait photographer ever. There's no Irving Penn, there's no all these other guys without it, and I don't think anybody would deny that. And the idea of photographing an entire country and a society is like, I mean, we know August Sander's story, and if you don't, you should look it up if you don't. because he's as brilliant as you get. This print I bought as soon as I had enough money. When I started working as a photographer in my 20s, I started buying photography. And this is one of the first things I actually bought. And it's in the kitchen. And it's a pastry chef. I think it's amazing. I think the shapes, the back, everything. And it's so modern. It also is, I mean, I don't know what year it is. I probably should know, maybe 1926. This is the kind of stuff I used to know when I was 40. But it's such a modern and perfect photograph to me. And it was one of the photographs. I hated portrait photography when I was young. Like I didn't get it. It bored me. And then when I found out about August Sander, this changed my mind. And Irving Penn, love Irving Penn now. And it's all sort of the simplicity and the sort of importance of the subject. It's great. So that's why this picture was a big deal to me.
Now, this is a different direction. Nancy Rexroth, I'm not familiar with. Tell me about this image.
She's great. So she put out a book called Iowa, that of all these photographs she did around 1970. And she took this picture, and I think I saw it. Now I'm going to actually show you something. I'm almost sure. There's a book called The Snapshot. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So I bought this book, God knows when, and it had like photographers in it that mattered, that I learned were important. Oh, look at that. It actually says inside a photographer's place, another photograph book bargain from the slighted stock of a photographer's place. I bought this because it was damaged, so in those days, maybe it was $3. And the type in it, but it has Paul Strand, Lisette Model, who's my teacher, all these photographers, Emmett Gowan, Henry Wessel, Joel Meyerowitz. I thought Nancy was in this. Oh yeah, Nancy Rexroth, yeah. So I saw this photograph made with a Holga, and all I thought was, look what a photograph can, it's like magical turkeys coming at her.
Yeah.
It didn't look real. It went into a surreal world. I always kind of saw the world as surreal, even in things that aren't surreal. But this was like, this was surreal and interesting. And it probably, I don't know if it affected pictures I take, because I don't take pictures like this. But again, to see a photograph early on that actually was compelling in a completely different way. Like it wasn't even about the subject, it was about the energy or something in the picture. I love the picture.
Yeah.
So Nancy Rexroth, yeah, she's great.
So there's something that's a thread through the images that you have chosen here, I think. And tell me if I'm wrong. So you said earlier you like images that are interesting, right? But yeah. I had heard, I have no idea who said it. You probably know something. Somebody said something effective. If you want to take a good picture, stand in front of something interesting.
No, I never heard that, but maybe I wouldn't.
But all of these images, there is not anything that you say I am in it. That is an interesting thing. These are all from Elliot Erwitt walking down the street to somebody with a horse that most people would have walked by to this thing that you said you wouldn't have ever thought about before. And Sanders, it's a guy who's cooking in a.
That bowl is his head. That's such a genius photo. But yeah.
Yeah, no, but you see what I'm saying is there's that thread here that these are not necessarily interesting subjects. They're all interesting images.
So here's something I believe, and I think you're correct. Here's something I believe, and I know I just believe it. I believe if I stare into my camera at a subject, now obviously there's I'm not going to do the exposition of my life, but if I'm in front of a subject, I feel like the more I stare at it, the more interesting it can get. And I can force through the camera. By the way, I know what this sounds like. I can force through the camera, make something that's uninteresting interesting. In some ways, it's almost, I don't think in these terms, it's more automated or spontaneous. The more banal a subject is, the more exciting is if you can make it interesting and compelling. When I was young, I thought photography was National Geographic, right? Mm-hmm. Or The Family Man, that book that my parents had.
Yeah.
That to me, Family Man is actually very good. But I thought I wanted to be a National Geographic photographer. And I kind of sort of started my career traveling around the world, sort of doing a version of that without the news component. Yeah. Like I've been to the Arctic many times. I've been to the deserts in Australia. I've been in those kind of places that should be National Geographic, and I did it to make money. But I found that National Geographic, and I don't want to pick on them, but that's not the kind of photography I want to take. I mean, I'll bring up a name, Steve. No, I won't bring up a name. But there's National Geographic photographers who I think are profoundly boring, and they're some of the most famous photographers, and I don't get it. I think a non-photographer's view is like, oh, look at those colors, or look at that, and that's great. I got nothing against that, but I want to take something like, Wintergrand would just take a woman walking down the street or a group of people and like, wow, that's fascinating. Look at what's going on. Robert Frank is probably the ultimate in the sense that Robert Frank doesn't even look like photographs. It looks like it's alive.
Yeah.
I don't think there's not many people do. Wintergrand once said, I take a picture of something, Frank took a picture of, mine's a photograph, Frank's is something else. And I believe that. I can't get to that level. But I feel like I can approach a level where I can make pictures that are really interesting to me. And if other people like it, hey, fantastic. If they don't, I don't give a shit. I mean, I want them to like the pictures, but I really don't care. The truth is, I like them. And over 40 years, you build up 20, 30, 40 pictures that you love. And the evidence that other people like them is that I've sold stuff and my books do well. And that's really it. I mean, commercial work, all the commercial work I've done in my life, I have maybe a 1 foot pile of tear sheets that I genuinely don't care about. And that's about it, So yes, interesting. I guess, did that answer your question?
I don't know if it was a question as much as just a statement, just sort of
I
looking.
felt like it was a statement, so I got lost. But listen, if you're out there taking pictures, trying to get them, take them for someone else to like them, and you're not being paid, in 20 years you're gonna have a pile of shit you don't care about. And like, who needs that? You need to take the pictures you care about. And
if I'm still taking pictures in 20 years, then I'll be happy. And if good images,
I just want to be able to walk and go. But I'll say this: the urgency has left me to get pictures like all the time, every day. I have 2 kids. One's 22 and he's a photographer. He's really good, and you can follow him on Instagram, Theo Carroll Photography. But he's actually genuinely good. And we go out shooting together, and I let him have the pictures. Like, we don't interfere, and we have a rule: if we both take a picture of a subject, the one that's better gets to be the one we keep, whether it's his or mine. But he once said to me, because you don't care, you already have a catalog. I'm just trying to get a picture. And he's absolutely right. There's an energy and an urgency, and it's so weird that at 22 we feel an urgency, and in my 60s I don't. I have so much less time, and I don't have urgency. Think it's time in the world.
Yeah, I mean, so you and I are actually in different places, because I'm relatively new to taking photography seriously. So I am at 60.
I never said I took it seriously. No.
Well, no. I'm taking it seriously, because I'm trying to learn it and I'm trying to understand it, and my clock is ticking, right? I'm 60, so I only have so much life left in me, and so there's I'm out there. So I got to get some stuff done, and I got to learn a lot, and I got to make it happen fast.
You have a better attitude than me.
Well,
because I swear that is a better attitude. My attitude is, listen, I never go a day without taking pictures, but I don't know what changed, but something changed where I take pictures all the time. I even get good ones, but there's no ego anymore. There's nothing of like, I want to show this. I think a lot of it had to do with having kids and wanting to think I'm cool. Because my first book came out when my oldest son was like 4 or 5. And I'm not saying I did it to be cool with my kids. Actually, they came to me, so it wasn't even that. But, there's nothing to prove anymore. And I get so much more pleasure now out of other people doing well, which is why I publish books. I'm on the other side now. I can take pictures, and I will take pictures forever, but I'm on the other side. I want to do stuff for other people. And I'm not doing this in some, I'm not like a sanctimony. I just think it's more fun for me.
Yeah. Well, like, you're also in a place where you have, if I can armchair psychologist, you have already proven to yourself that you can do what you want to do. Whereas like, I'm in a place where I have not proven to myself that I can do what I want to do.
Well, it depends what you want to do. I just wanted to make a living most of my life, to be honest with you.
I want to be you.
What? Insane, my hip hurts. But
listen, David,
let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I never took myself seriously in any of this shit, but the pictures I took seriously. Like the best paper, the best printing, the best I could do, hired the best printers from Chuck Kelton to to whoever the printers were, and that was what mattered. You had to get it right. And then when you were done, you were done. but you take yourself seriously, these assholes who think they're significant or important. It's bullshit. I mean, listen, almost all my friends that aren't from my childhood are photographers. A lot of them are really big deal, and none of the ones I'm friends with act like they're important.
Yeah,
They know that they're fucking, they're the poets of like.
I am old. I am old enough to know that is the case in a lot of different areas. The people who are really good aren't the people who think that they're really good. Aren't the ones who walk around.
No, we hate our pictures after a while.
Yeah.
I mean, but I have had conversations with big name people, being with them while we edit books, going, "Do you hate your pictures?" Of course I hate my pictures. The ones who say, "No, I love them," I'm out of the room.
David J. Carroll is a photographer. He is now the editor-in-chief of Peanut Press Books. It's great.
Actually, I'm the co-founder. Let's get rid of the editor-in-chief. We're like, it was me and Ashley have different.
I'm pulling it off your website, man.
Yeah, well, look, I lied. It's all bullshit. No, books are good. Books are good.
Mr. Carroll is here with us on the Crit House, joining the MyFIVE. Thanks for being here. Greatly appreciated. And thank you all for watching the Crit House.